Welcome to the last semester of TYBSc, wherein we are going to deal with the organic chemistry theory course. The code is CH343 organic chemistry, which is comprising of 5 chapters. First chapter is carbanion and their reactions, 6 lectures. The name reactions are given in the syllabus: aldol, condensation, Claisen, Dickmann, Perkin, malonate ester, acetoacetic ester preparation and their applications in synthetic chemistry and Wittig reagent. Second chapter is retrosynthetic analysis and applications, wherein you are given a target molecule, you have to disconnect. There are certain rules for disconnecting the molecules, wherein you will go to the charge species which are known as synthons, and from synthons the synthetic equivalents or the reagents in common words are obtained. In some cases you have to go for the functional group interconversion and then disconnection. So all those things are there. Target molecule is the molecule which is under investigation or under study. 5 lectures are allotted to that. Then third chapter is rearrangement reactions. 6 lectures are there. Beckmann, Hofmann, Beer-Williger, Pinacol-Pinacolone rearrangement, Curtius, Favorsky and Claisen rearrangement. These are the part of the third chapter. Then fourth chapter, this is important, spectroscopic method, wherein UV, IR and proton NMR spectroscopy are supposed to be dealt with, and 24 lectures are allotted to that. So this is practically a half course. And then last chapter is natural products, wherein you are going to deal with terpenoids and alkaloids, their basics, the building blocks of these things. Like terpenoids, isoprenoids are the building blocks. For alkaloids, the amino acids are the building blocks, and so on. So we have to deal with the syllabus for this entire semester. I will be taking your spectroscopic methods part, 24 lectures. This is all mathematical or numerical type questions would be mostly asked. Of course we have to do some theory also in the beginning, and then the application part is more important. And all these 50% marks of the syllabus can be easily obtained, because these are all based on the application part. Now without any further delay, we are going to start with the spectroscopic method. So I will be dealing with chapter number 4, spectroscopic method, the basics, then ultraviolet visible spectroscopy, infrared spectroscopy, and then magnetic resonance spectroscopy pertaining to proton NMR spectroscopy or proton NMR resonance that we have to see. So let us start with the spectroscopy part. So I have to start from the basics, because there was no spectroscopy or any related topics in the lower classes, so we have to start from the scratch. So first of all, the definition of spectroscopy. So let me put some definitions here. Of course I have got some few write-ups, but write-ups are not very important here. Spectroscopy, the branch of science concerned with the investigation and measurement of spectra produced when matter interacts with or emits electromagnetic radiation. Okay. Now there are so many definitions, but this is one of the definition where spectroscopy is a branch of science concerned with investigation and measurement of spectra. Spectra are the plots produced when matter or the compound under study interacts with or emits electromagnetic radiation. So basically we are dealing with the electromagnetic spectrum of light and its interaction with any matter, in our case the organic compounds to be precise, and we are mainly dealing with absorption spectroscopy when it comes to ultraviolet spectroscopy. Now the term electromagnetic radiation is the spectrum you must be knowing, ranging from ultraviolet to the radio waves, and the characteristic of electromagnetic radiation. I will just draw few things here. Now these are the wavelengths. Now wavelength is a characteristic of the this electromagnetic radiation, wherein the difference, the distance between two consecutive crests or troughs is lambda. So lambda is a wavelength of electromagnetic radiation. There are two more equations which can be derived from this. E is equal to h nu, nu is frequency, hc by lambda, not h nu. So you can see that energy is inversely proportional to lambda. If lambda is more, energy would be less, and vice versa. So the terms which are involved here, h is Planck's constant, c is velocity of light, nu is frequency, and E is the energy associated with the transitions may be occurring at electronic level, vibrational level, or rotational level, or within the subatomic particles like protons from lower energy state to higher energy state, and so on. So basically all these transitions are involved. The absorption of energy and the excited states would have little lifetime, and from there they emit the radiations and go back to the ground state. But when they absorb light, you get some absorption bands with the help of some sophisticated instruments, and from those plots one can predict the functional groups, and this is how the spectroscopy helps us in the elucidation of structure of organic compounds, inorganic compounds, some biomolecules, and so on. Now the first part of the spectroscopy we have to start with is UV visible spectroscopy or UV spectroscopy, in short you can say. Now UV visible, the range is between 200 to 900 nanometers. Now 1 nanometer is 10 raised to minus 7 centimeters. So this is the region where wavelength is low, energy is very high. Now this energy is enough to bring about the electronic transitions. So you can promote the electron from lower energy to higher energy, and when we talk about organic compounds, we know that organic compounds are going to have the bonding and non-bonding electrons. So we are supposed to deal with the excitation of those bonding and non-bonding electrons, and depending upon that the different transitions are possible. So when organic compounds interacts with UV visible light, it absorbs some light, and then you get a plot of absorbance versus lambda. So that plot is known as UV visible spectrum. So absorbance, this percentage absorption I will say versus lambda. So you get this kind of plot. Now this is the lambda max. The maximum absorption at particular wavelength is, so this is percentage intensity of absorbance or percentage absorbance versus lambda. That is how the plot is there. Now this is known as UV visible spectrum or UV spectrum in short, and from this you can interpret the functional group which are present in the compound. So the basic application of UV spectroscopy is to detect unsaturation. You can find out the impurities which are present in the compound. You can find out the isomerism, cis trans isomerism, and so on. So we'll see the application later. Now let us talk about the types of electronic transitions. So the basic theory behind this is, whenever organic compounds absorb the UV visible light, the electrons move from ground state to excited state, and they have some lifetime there, and that absorption light is quantized, that energy is quantized, E is equal to h nu, and from there you get the absorption peaks in the UV visible spectrophotometer, and you can find out the lambda max pertaining to those compounds. So types of electronic transitions I will say. So let me draw the schematic diagram. Sigma, sigma star, pi, pi star, and non-bonding. So this is your sigma sigma star transition, then comes your n sigma star transition, then comes your pi pi star transition, and the least energetic is n pi star transition. So when you want to put them according to the energies, then sigma sigma star is highest, then n sigma star, pi pi star, and n pi star. This is how the energy associated with this transition is. So sigma sigma star transition is possible in hydrocarbons, where carbon carbon sigma bond is involved. N sigma star is to the heteroatoms. So I will just put one example here, say ethane molecule. This is pertaining to some heteroatom, chloride, alcohol, etc. Pi pi star is pertaining to the olefins and alkynes, you can say, and n pi star is wherein you are having a pi bond but with heteroatom. So that N stands for non-bonding electron pair. So whenever you show this carbon oxygen double bond, still the oxygen is carrying the lone pair of electron which is unshared or non-bonding electron pair, and you can have n pi star and pi pi star excitation for the carbonyl compound. So these are the basics, like whenever your organic compound is there, these kind of transitions are there. This is high energy transition, so low lambda, low energy transition, high lambda. So these two transitions are more important in case of structure elucidation and that's why more wealth of information can be obtained from pi star and n pi star transitions. Now, whenever absorption of light or electromagnetic spectrum is considered, then there are certain rules or laws are there. So, you must have heard about Lambert-Beer's law. So, Lambert-Beer's law is equal to log 10 to the base of I 0 upon I epsilon CL. Now, this is incident light, this is transmitted light, and A stands for absorbance, epsilon is molar extinction coefficient or molar absorptivity, C is concentration, and L is the path length. So, this is the basic equation which is necessary, and you can see that A is directly proportional to concentration, path length, and molar absorptivity is a property of particular compound. So, this law is very important because this law governs the absorption spectra, and UV visible spectroscopy is one of the absorption spectroscopy. Now, we will move to the next part, that is terms which are used in UV spectroscopy. So, terms used: chromophore, auxochrome, red shift and blue shift. Okay. Now, chromophore is, in common terms, it is chromo is color, 4 is group. Color bearing groups are known as chromophores. For example, in organic compounds, benzene is taken as one chromophore, benzene chromophore, and the chromophores, they have a capacity of absorbing the light. So, UV light is absorbed, and in this case we can see pi star transition, and this is around 250 nanometers. Okay. Now, auxochrome, I will just put one group there. This is also responsible for this, and this will be around 278 nanometers. Okay. So, this is the group which is known as auxochrome. The role of auxochrome is it enhances the lambda, that means it reduces the energy which is required for pi star transition, and therefore, the presence of auxochrome will lower the energy for pi star transition, and automatically there will be bathochromic shift or red shift. Now, this is red shift is one term, this is also termed as bathochromic shift to the longer wavelength, that is known as bathochromic shift. And on the other hand, if it is on the lower side, it is known as blue shift. I will just put few examples pertaining to this. If I take phenol and treat it with this, to be precise, nitrophenol, paranitrophenol, you get red shift. This is colorless solution. The moment you put NaOH, this case intense color. So, what happens is this nitrophenoxide ion is showing color, that means you are going from colorless to color, colorless to yellow, dark yellow. It is a example of red shift or bathochromic shift. Another example I will put wherein your primary amine is converted into hydrochloride, wherein this NH2, which was helping in lowering the pi star transition by the virtue of resonance phenomenon. Now thus resonance is prohibited, so pi star transition becomes more energetic, and the pi star transition goes to the blue shift. Blue shift means the wavelength is decreased, energy is increased. Okay. Now the other one or two definitions we'll see, and maybe we have to start with some empirical rules for the calculation of lambda max in various chromophoric groups. So I'll just introduce few things here. Diene chromophore, enone chromophore. Diene, the name suggests that it is two alkenes, that is diene. Even this is diene, but this is conjugated one, this is isolated one. Pi star is around 215 nanometers. Pi star here is 175 nanometers. So you can see that conjugation lowers the energy and shift the wavelength to the longer. Enone chromophore, I'll just put few examples here. This is enone, enone. So there are certain rules which help us in Woodward-Pfizer rules for lambda max calculation. So in next lecture once again we will revise the things, and we will start with the Woodward-Pfizer rules, because at least 4 marks examples would be there based on this, and of course the theory examples would be there. So we will see those theory examples also when we go to the details of the UV visible spectroscopy. Since this is first lecture, I will not go into the detail, because this is supposed to be the introduction part. So in next lecture we will do the things in detail, and thank you very much for your patience in today's lecture. Thank you.